Thank you for tuning in to the Happy Hearts podcast with your host, Becca. Rate and subscribe as we power you to live with love. Hello everybody and welcome to Happy Hearts House podcast. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for listening. And anybody new, thank you to you too. Today, I am joined by Curtis, also known as Curtis TaylorMade on Instagram. If you want to connect with Curtis further after this episode, his links will be down below in the description. Hi Curtis, how are you today?
Hello, Becca. Thank you so much for having me on the Happy Hearts House podcast. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be a part of this community. So many wonderful things that we are doing for the next generations to come. And I'm super, super grateful to have this community here for me. Yes, my name is Curtis Hall. I've been born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And it's been a really long time coming for, I guess, me as a person in my development, growing up in a very large class of like 1,600 kids. And then, feeling like I just was someone different there, stumbling upon different spiritual philosophy stuff, and kind of feeling like I was left out of a lot of stuff, but at the same time, I just kind of came into full circle and found myself here in Paris, Texas, at my grandma's place, and it's a small town. I'm very interested in gardening, and I want to. We can talk about my project, Gardeners of the Galaxy, later on after we talk and do meditation, but that is something that I'm really interested to integrate with Happy Hearts House. And yeah.
Oh, so excited. So excited. And I'm so happy to have you on today as well. So yeah, like Curtis said, we're going to start off with doing just a short meditation. And Curtis, if you want to lead us into that, then I'd be truly grateful.
Perfect. So we're going to start by gathering our breath, taking a nice deep breath in, releasing this deep breath. Taking a big deep breath in and exhale all that doesn't serve you, releasing energy, releasing all the energy, positive, negative, release who you are, And then when you breathe in, you want to absorb and attract everything that comes to you, everything that's meant for you. And then release everything you are. We're going to travel into our heart space. A couple more breaths. Focus on the heart. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, feeling your heart space glow with warmth. Resting in that. Breathing out, sinking deeper and deeper into the heart space. Breathing in, breathing out. feeling a green lotus flower spiraling in the center where your heart is, in your chest. Just like the plants grow, we're here to show our love. And that's kind of what I want to kind of bring the mood in. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about the process that when we grow up and our young ones are here, we're naturally filled with love. And that's something that we need to nurture as much as possible. Now, so I wanted to go in to talk about mainly kind of like discipline, but in a loving way. This is something that I don't have personal experience with. This is why I really want to kind of get your experience on motherly love, Becca. And it's really something that I have struggled with in my past on being tough, having this tough love mentality growing up. My parents had a very tough loving attitude. I was spanked as a kid, and that's something that my mom got my dad to stop doing, and but it tends to turn into more of a verbal abusive stuff and putting me down. Once I became more, I guess, spiritually awakened, I had a lot of aspirations, very big dreams, very big stuff, and it became kind of this ever cycling thing of, oh, I figured it out, mom and dad, I figured it out. I I thought I had something, a great idea, and then it would just be shut down, put into reality, and or so as their reality. It was kind of this putting down thing that I have to get a job, I have to have money, but I also want to be able to do what I want to do, express my art. And so this idea that I want to present is going to be discipline through love and harboring loving nature as nature is intending, is harboring this love space, and not disciplining your kids in a way that actually negatively affects them, because they already have negative stuff already imprinted on them throughout their beginning years, and just different things that their soul or human soul might actually have memory of in the past life. So is there any experience you have of learning how to discipline your kids, and is there like something that you would love to share, like method of how you approach it?
Firstly, I want to say thank you for that meditation, because we're all about love here, and it was beautiful. And thank you for sharing a little bit of you with us, because it can be tough to do, and being that vulnerable, it helps people, because there's people that relate to the way that you were brought up, like myself, for instance. I also was brought up with spanking and tough love, and my mum and dad, my dad didn't really do praise. My mum was the same, like shooting dreams down. She wasn't really emotionally ready or there when needed. And one thing that I strive to do as a mum is everything opposite to what my parents did for me.
Yeah.
But that didn't work either. So I thought that I had to go completely the opposite way, and just be softer, and they ended up like becoming in control of me,
Yeah.
and they started to grow up to be pretty like selfish, and they weren't uh, they were only caring about their needs, not the needs of other people. They didn't realize that I had emotions as well, and that I was an individual that had needs. So when I started to really connect with myself, my parenting style changed as well. Um, I'd always like had pure love for them, obviously, because they're my children. But I decided to love in a completely different way. So having more understanding, um, or trying to have understanding at least. Just giving that space to actually listen to
That
them.
is so resonating with what I'm about to say about the garden. I
Hmm.
want to kind of keep this topic around growing
Hmm.
and growing a garden, and as a
Yeah.
parent, having your garden and having your children as the flowers. You obviously they're going to be their own gardeners. So we must, plant these seeds of, just their own parenting. It comes back around. And what I
Yes.
wanted to say was, there's different seasons. There's different times that our children go through. Um, as it's time for winter, I actually kind of had this. I've been pruning, which is cutting off, certain things that have grown out of control. Certain
Hmm.
parts that have grown out of control. I'm seeing it as, the intellect, the consciousness growing and more attached to the world around it. And just like a garden, things can get out of control. Things can start uh growing on top of each other that shouldn't be growing on top of each other. So it's kind of an
Yes.
orderly thing. And when you prune, it really resets a it sets the boundary of where you need to grow, and you will have a beautiful head of bushy, flowery love, and keeping everything in even and balance. And that's something that I really took a understanding. Going in the garden and looking at how growth everything. There's plants, three plants in one plant, and I was wondering maybe these plants are similar to our kids, similar to what they can indulge into in the real world. There are beautiful experiences of passion and pleasure, these things that we can take into consideration for even adults.
Hmm.
Adults probably don't even, we want to get them ready to control their own pleasureful, wanting to do things and wanting experiences just like everyone else.
Yes. And I think that it can be compared because um grow it's all about growth, but we grow together. As a parent, your children are teaching you as well. They're teaching you how they need to be loved, how they need to be nurtured. Um, I learned that if I gave too much, it would drown them. Just like if you give plants too much water, you would drown them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it is very important to find that balance, of and each one is completely different, you know. We can have a foundation of ways that we choose to love and nurture our kids, but we have to cater that foundation to the specific needs of each one individually. Like there's things that Ava needs now at 10 years old that honesty doesn't need at 4 years old. You know, there's things that,
Hmm.
and vice versa. And I think um yeah, letting them have a little bit of control has been my mission this year.
That
Um
is,
yeah.
that's really important to understand where we let them step in because there's a quote that I heard that forgot who it was, but it was nature does not create suffering. It is the overloading and the need for more experience that causes really suffering. And nature does not designed anything to suffer. So the whole point of, going in and disciplining your kids through suffering is something that is counter and just counter the opposite of what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And because in this thing, when I say nature, because the younger the kids, kids are their nature, they're part of nature, and they have the most love for us, so they can love a little bit more clearly. Like, when I say love more clearly, they have a innocence where they're able to love more clearly without that prejudice impacted them throughout a long time. Just like in a very developed plant can effectively harbor, life for other plants
Mm-hmm.
in the garden.
Yeah, kids, their love is so pure and it's unconditional because they they depend on their adults to show them the way and to give them a secure path to go down. And
Yeah,
um also they're very much closer to nature than adults are because we forget to see the beauty in everything. And I don't know about, I mean, I'm pretty sure that most parents can uh relate, but my kids enjoy like walking down the street and just picking up a random leaf that they see on the floor and say, "Mommy, look at all the colors and look at the shape of this. It looks like a heart or it looks like a fan." And they see the beauty in everything, the shapes in the clouds, um like the smell of the grass. They appreciate it all and they make the most of it until we take that magic out of them because we want them to hurry up or we want to get somewhere quick or um, we're
yeah,
focusing on something else and we're not realizing that.
I see that.
Yeah, this.
Actually, it
Yeah.
I see that a lot in parking lots with kids. So far, I mean, when I'm driving in the parking lot, there's kids, they're running in the parking lot, and the mom will be like, "Hey, stop running," or like they'll just like pull them hard and give them a yelling because they're running. But in a sense, you know, that is those things are tough to get around for me. I'm actually scared to, um, maybe there's a. You said there is a distraction. Humans. Us, the parents, they're busy with their own stuff. And I feel like it is important to have a big focus when your kids are around, to focus on them.
Hmm. I
And
think it's about patience as well.
oh yes,
Just
perfect,
like you have to wait for things to grow in a garden,
just
like
perfect.
and treating it with uh, detail and kindness and taking your time. It's the same for parenting. Like we've got to try to be patient and realize that they learn things um over a period of time that suits them, not what suits us. And that's been one of my biggest lessons as a parent is knowing that they'll get there. It just takes time, and yes, it takes a lot of repetition, but that being able to give that repetition that they need in the in a way that meets their needs and is with patience and care, um it's another way of showing that we love them.
Yes.
So yeah.
Beautiful. I wanted to bring up my next kind of topic, which tied in perfectly with patience
Mhm.
and growing your garden and really dealing with self-discipline and dealing with my even my struggles with growing food crops or any kind of plant, waiting for that moment, waiting for that sprout, waiting for that growth to appear. And it's almost like a subconscious thing, and it has to be um, from an adult standpoint. It kind of just, oh wow, it's already growing,
Mhm.
and from a kid standpoint, it's like, wow, it is growing, it's amazing, and they can feel such a sense of accomplishment by the patience, by this, and doing a garden, having a garden, and tending to it is very good for the soul, very good for developing the certain attributes of the their soul and their being, because it's it's growing just like their consciousness.
Mhm.
Their ball of consciousness, it grows more and more and expands bigger and bigger as they grow bigger and bigger.
Mhm. And then
And
they're learning really valuable lessons, life lessons that they can take forward with them. Patience is a big thing that a lot of kids these days don't have, and they want to do things fast, they want to watch things fast, they want to learn things fast, and everything's just go 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 all the time. Just take the time to chill and uh, slow down and connect. um that's when we see the details, like even in friendships. Growing a friendship, we need to be patient, we need to learn understanding and how we can nurture their needs as well as our own, to be able to um you know
setting
keep
those
that
boundaries.
friendship going, yeah, and set boundaries for ourselves, respect their boundaries. We're learning all that just from tending to a garden, really. It's like
Of
instilling
course,
it down in your core to a point where you don't even realize you're learning it, you know?
of course, of
Mm.
course. Um, Man, I was gonna say something. I totally forgot. But going along the lines of friendships and my whole actually idea, what I'm very interested in, because I'm known as the gardener of the galaxy, and I'm known as this gardener, but in reality, I don't have much experience doing any of that. I just have a very big philosophy and understanding of how life works and the
Mm.
life and death process that works. That is a very big teeter totter kind of thing when you're talking with kids about it, because when we say death, when we say something like lacking or not, maybe it's not lacking. It's just it is something that is another process that is misunderstood in our day, and that's the whole thing that I could go in about anthroposophy, which is a spiritual science that has developed, and I could do another podcast on that actually, but in the sense of dealing with friendships and dealing with loss is very important for kids to understand, not to take things personally, and that all of these experience, all of these life that has ever grown can be returned to the earth and used for our benefit.
Mhm.
Because when we lose friends, it's not a good time. Our hearts break, and our hearts don't and we don't feel good, or we just question and we cry. We wonder why. And if we were just there to listen to our children, because crying is something that's important, good or bad crying, we want to be there and be present with that. Because
Yes.
once we know of this, when we know that, oh, a plant dies and it returns to the earth, we have the obligation to return it to the earth in a fashion that is helping grow something else in its place. And that's one of the biggest experience I can even actually relate to is, loving relationships, finding my soulmate, and getting my heart broken, and using the past experience to harbor something. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to jump into something that is, and really trust that the same thing, the same process that took to grow that friendship can make your next friendship, your next relationship, your next soul mate a love-filled, adventure.
Yes, definitely. Um, I was just gonna say, like, even though these things do hurt, um, it's still a growth process in itself. Um, it's teaching us a lesson, and um, it's up to us to be able to find that lesson and develop from it, and find that it within ourselves what either needs to change or what needs to come out more, and not let it stay deep down and become a scar that um, affects our growth and development. And it's really important for kids to have experiences that do that. Like, even coming into Happy Hearts House, there's it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows, but um, it is going to be stepping stones in a direction that meets the needs of the young people, kids, and parents that we're supporting. And that is important in terms of like uh soulmates and stuff like that, relationships like that. um if you're a
Develop-
person that gives yourself entirely, um I would say to keep doing that, whether you, even if it hurts and you grow tired. um the biggest lesson that I've learned as a person that gives unconditionally, is to just keep giving unconditionally, because I can't let it change me, Um, and yeah, take a
that's the process.
yeah,
That's the process of forgiveness. I think that's really what another key thing that kids need to understand and grasp is forgiveness, especially early on, especially
yeah,
very
and
early.
then not to be afraid to fail either, because some
Exactly.
things,
All that is in tandem with
yeah,
being unconditionally loving and forgiving throughout every part of their life, because there will be kids that don't treat them the way they want to be treated, but it's all about being that brotherhood, that brotherhood, sisterhood, friendship, is a very big lesson. I think it's important to the forgiveness process is deep down. We have these relationships that we attach ourselves to, and to forgive ourselves is that, knowing that we are all connected, we're all one thing, we're all one being, growing in this cosmos, you know.
hmm yeah, I think learning to let go of attachment. I think, like, there's healthy attachment and there's unhealthy attachment, and like being able to reroute ourselves when we've been pulled from the ground, so to say.
Oh
um
yeah,
it's um it's definitely a skill that we need to have, and we do develop it pretty early on in childhood. Children are like the most resilient beings on this planet until they're shown otherwise, you know.
That is
Um,
very good point. You talked about
yeah,
uprooting, disturbing the roots. Disturbing. When the other day, remember I had my potted potato, and I noticed something, and I went ahead and repotted in a bigger pot.
hmm
Now, obviously, I need more space for my potatoes to be growing, and they need a lot more space than just a pot or a bucket. But I can't really do much in the backyard that we're trying to sell here at the house. But that's a good, disturbing those roots. Even especially when you're talking about a young age. When you're trying to transplant these young plants from your nursery into the
hmm
garden. That's going to take some disturbing of the roots and growing and trusting that they will grow into the ground and having a place for them to, because the soul is going to find the place where their roots can grow better. And so if we can prepare a better place for those roots to grow, that is all the more beautiful. And that's what I like about Happy Hearts House.
yeah. I think that what we're trying to build for parents and young people and children is just a safe foundation to be able to grow. And whatever that growth looks like is okay. It doesn't have to be in an image what anybody else expects. Um, it just is there to be, and we're doing it with love, we're doing it with nurture, and we're doing it with realness.
Mhm.
And as long as, like you said, trust is a big thing. To trust that the seeds that we're planting will grow beautifully and meet the needs of whoever's gonna, benefit from it, then we've done half the job already just by planting the seed, right?
Yeah. And how we it matters how we sow these seeds as well. And every seed has its own it's different size. You have small seeds, you have big seeds that you can plant deeper into the ground, and they can grow into bigger things. And it's funny talking about plants, and then all of a sudden when you're talking about plants, you get all these realizations of the human. You just see all
Yeah.
these things of our being and our how we can and what it really means, in spiritual sense.
hmm
It's tough to talk about that with parents, but it's easier to talk about with kids. It's easier to talk about the spiritual stuff with the kids because they are closer to this spiritual source than us.
I think because they're still there until the innocence is stripped from them by society and by what they witness on TV and the news and the media and the government. Before all that innocence is stripped away by life, they are so in touch with their hearts. And then it's the outside influences that make them lose that, you know? And it's because there's not going down the generations because the adults are not being guided by their heart and real love. It's it's rubbing off on the next generation, then the next generation, and then somewhere in that line is where somebody needs to intervene. They need to know that they have a support network out there. Everybody has somebody, and we're not meant to be lonesome people. We're not meant to go through situations alone. Yes, we are the only ones who can discover ourselves. We are the only ones that can heal from things that have hurt us and do the work, but we don't have to go through it alone. There's always somebody that can understand or relate or comfort you in some way. And all we need to do is be open and trusting, not just with other people, but with ourselves. I know it's definitely something that I've struggled with, opening up and showing people the real extent of my love, because I've held it back because I was scared that people wouldn't accept me for being, you know, so free to love, should I say. Like, I want to be there for people. I want to, and when I care for somebody, even just the littlest bit, I will give them all that I can give, because
That's
that's just,
that's
yeah, it's just who I am. And but I've hid that away from people because it wasn't accepted to be that way. Like, I couldn't express myself the way that I am now, right now on this podcast, how I have done in past episodes, how we do in our meetings.
hmm I
I'm
want
not,
to kind
yeah.
of bring up the environment. Really
Mm-hmm,
is something that I think we can touch on, because I don't want to lead people to believe that our environment strips us away from our being,
mm-hmm,
from our light, because it doesn't. It's just the environment that we have been born into, or
mm-hmm,
certain aspects of the human, the regressive traits that we have kept going, kept, like, not really, just avoiding trying to fix, with the society and the intellectual part
mm-hmm,
overtaking this natural love. Because, you know life in this earth is meant to grow our soul evermore. It's not meant to take away, and I want that trust needs to be there, and that's why we have these beautiful spiritual communities. And we have just beautiful, just you and me talking, having the opportunity to meet all the different people. That's part of it, and we're all separated from this tragedy, which is the civilization,
mm-hmm.
um that has came from the greed and the it's just, natural, like, obsessive compulsion that the human can undergo when not tend to, because we are um we can contain attributes like that, just by giving our kids too much, whatever, putting too much in on their plates, and not really teaching, which is,
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like, um, it's not, um, it's not so much, like environment. It's more, that we've been taught that material things matter more than
exactly.
what's already available to us spiritually and emotionally, and with, like, just the natural earth itself, and how much that can give to us, how much pleasure and peace and calm and tranquility, and happiness and joy. reconnecting with nature has been like the best thing that's happened to uh, my heart in years. Like it's helped me to find parts of me that I didn't know existed, and I know for a fact it's done the same thing for my kids because they've been able to find play again. And I mean like real play, not just sat on technology all the time. They've found imagination, and yeah, it's brought across growth. Like it all comes back to that. Uh, they've been able to grow, and I'm so forever grateful to Mother Gaia, the Earth.
Oh,
Yeah.
we all are. We all are.
I'm just even like this past couple of weeks, and my heart's been yearning to get out and be in nature. I've not been able to, but as soon as I am, I'm going to be getting out there, with the kids. And yeah, hopefully we can share some of those experiences with Happy Hearts House and all of you guys. But yeah, this has been a beautiful journey of growth and talking about love and nature and how it all correlates. Curtis, I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's always a good time to talk with people. We are social beings, and that's you made a good point about being able to go out and reach to someone. It may not be someone that your mother or father agree with, and that's the whole rebellious child attribute. But that's something that their soul is yearning for. This even if it comes into a dark area, that light will be so great because you know your kids, and it starts with that. It starts with trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tragedy to see kids not trusting it's almost funny to say, because when kids sneak out or do the thing, it's like the parents or the kids don't trust the parents don't trust their kids, but it's really the kids not trusting their parents to provide that understanding, or at least some form of ear to listen to, and that speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's sad because they're not able to connect on a level where they're able to be honest with each other and ask questions openly without fear. And I'm I'm trying to build that relationship up with my kids, that they can come to me with any questions that they have, and I will be respectful and I'll give them uh, as much answers as I can. But sometimes they have to experience it for themselves. And as a parent, it is hard to trust that they can do this and they can learn from those experiences, good or bad. And it's our job to be there to pick up the pieces, and support them in any way that we can, but ask them how they want to be supported. How can I help you?
Yes, that's why we have a team here
Mm-hmm.
at the house, and I'm eternally grateful to be a part of Happy Hearts House as well. We all have some sort of. It's good to have abundance in the garden. It provides, just an array of situations that could be avoided, from isolation, and always allows at least one kid that may have one problem that we might not understand, and we have a soul for that, right? We have a soul for that.
Yeah, we do.
We give them a place to do that, and I'm really happy to be on here. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so grateful that you could have been with us today, sharing space and your beautiful thoughts and feelings. I'm grateful to have you in Happy Hearts House. It wouldn't be the same without you. You truly bring love and support, not just to the people that we've made Happy Hearts House for, but to the team as well. Yeah, so thank you so much just for being you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so if any of you guys listening want to connect with Happy Hearts House and find out more on how we can support you, if you want to connect with Curtis further, as I said earlier, his links will be down below, as well as Happy Hearts House Linktree will be in the description. Yeah, we've enjoyed exploring how close together nature and nurture become. And yeah, till next time. I'm Becca and I've been your host today on Happy Hearts Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Until then, live with love.